Welcome, Skewannati. So glad to have you here. It's such a treat because I've been kind of checking out the AbTech, Aboriginal Territories in Cyberspace, because I'm a little bit of like a Second Life history nerd, and so it was just so much fun to be in conversation with you before this festival. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you, Nyawa. It's wonderful to be here. I heard you already introduced me.
Yes, I did.
I wanted to listen to your pronunciation. Remember we went over that?
Oh, yes, and I'm glad you weren't there at the beginning because I jumbled my words. I was talking too fast and had to go back, but I got it. I got it, I think.
Awesome. So I have a presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, I'm new to this platform, so it's taking a second for some reason. I don't know oh, there we go. I just wasn't clicking right. So you have to see the whole inner workings, not the nice presentation, but everyone here can deal with that, I think.
We like the messy edges. We don't need to put everything in a nice, clean white box here at Gray Area Festival.
Yeah, I mean, even for that, and that, I should even have my, anyway, I have my, so first I usually say, Sego Sewa Guego, Skawannati Ujats. Hi, everyone. My name is Skawannati, and I would like to say thank you to you, Wade, for inviting me to be part of the Gray Area Festival and the show, Diorama. I also want to thank Sammy, whose last name I did not take the time to find out. I'm sorry. But
Sammy Vealer, that's Sammy Vealer, everybody.
Sammy installed all the work, and so I really appreciate that and the work that they did with me. So yeah, we'll go off for that. And I also like to say when I'm in a room with people, or if I can see them, but I know you're there somewhere, that I acknowledge and address the original inhabitants of the territories we are all joining in from. And I want to say to you that your existence is resistance. And now to you, Watwanu Waradu, I greet you and I'm happy that you are here with me. I am World Builder is the title of my talk, and I'm going to be telling you today about creating the Indigenous future on Abtic Island and Turtle Island, which for those of you who don't already know, where have you been? Turtle Island is what most people call North America these days. And you want to know something? I think Turtle Island is the entire world, and I will tell you why in this presentation. So perhaps Wade mentioned AbTech. Well, he mentioned, well, I was already on. Aboriginal Territories in Cyberspace is a research creation network that I co-founded with my partner and husband now, Jason Edward Lewis. And our goal was to ensure that Indigenous people basically showed up in cyberspace. We wanted to make sure that we were using these tools, these brand new tools. This was like, I'm going to talk more about that too. But I want to keep it quick. So, oops. One of our major projects is called the Initiative for Indigenous Futures. So with Aboriginal Territories in Cyberspace, we're really talking about Indigenous people using new technologies. But we realized that the new technology could be seen as a metaphor for the future, just of Aboriginal people, Indigenous people being in the future. And by the way, I use Indigenous, Aboriginal, First Nations, Native American, Ungwe, and all the other ones, Indian, interchangeably, pretty much. Okay. This is my avatar, XOX, and a piece I call She is Dancing with Herself. She's a Second Life avatar. I love her. And I wanted to tell you that I didn't always look this good. Back in the day, there was the palace. And if I was with you, I would ask for a show of hands of who remembers the palace. Wade, any memory or knowledge of the palace? Yeah, awesome. And so back then, the default avatar, and for the most part, most people's avatars was just the smiley face, this smiley face. And, we felt very lucky that we could change the, eyes to X's or a sad face or whatever. And then eventually we could put little hats on our avatars, and eventually we could totally customize them. But all that was to just say, I've been around the virtual worlds for a while now, and I started world building, if you will, in 1996 when I conceived of Cyber Powwow, which is a project I did as part of a collective, a First Nations artist collective called Nation to Nation. And this project itself merits an hour-long presentation pretty much, so I won't talk about it too much, but I just wanted to give you a tiny show of what it looked like and what kind of worlds we were making. But the idea was, again, that Indigenous people, this was called, the tagline was an Aboriginal territory in cyberspace, and this was one of the first forays into that new territory that myself and other artists entered into. And there on the screen, can you see my cursor? XOX. I've always been XOX. And there she is. There I am, dressed as Tank Girl, dressed as an Indian. I love it. So I think everyone in this crowd probably knows what the word machinima means, but I leave the slide in there so that I can let you know that I make machinima exclusively in Second Life, and that the work in the show Diorama I'm calling A Slice of Skyworld, and it's based on a set I made with my team from Abtech for the movie, the machinima She Falls for Ages. So what I thought I would do is just run through what She Falls for Ages looks like and is about. I'm not going to play the video because I was thinking this was Zoom, and Zoom always massacres my videos. So I thought I would just show you still images of She Falls for Ages, but I do have a little tiny 1-minute video that we're going to try looking at later, which I hear in the technical run-through, it looked pretty good, so I'm hoping. So, let me just skip this slide here.
Oh, I love that illustration of the celestial tree. Yeah, that's really nice.
Thank you. It is by Erica Perrault. She was a former graphic designer on our team, and I love it too. I just love it. And you'll see, I show this on purpose because I loved it so much that it went places. But first, I'll tell you the story of She Falls for Ages. She Falls for Ages is a sci-fi retelling of the Haudenosaunee or Iroquois creation story. In that story, traditionally, maybe I should go back here. Traditionally, the story takes place, it always takes place in Skyworld, a place beyond the heavens. It always has a tree, a special tree that is uprooted, and the hole left behind is there's always a pregnant woman, and the pregnant woman falls or otherwise goes through the hole, okay, and lands on an earth still covered in water, and the animals that are there already help her to create the earth as we know it. So what I wanted to do is and the story, when I've heard it before, is traditionally told like, Skyworld is basically pre-contact Iroquois. Like, the houses are all long houses made of bark and trees. The people wear buckskin clothing or whatever, hide, animal skin clothing, and they use clay pots, all that stuff. I thought, if it's beyond the sky, maybe it's another planet. And wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be awesome if they were like this technologically advanced people, and they were like these wonderful, peaceful people who live sustainably and have, figured out how to have technology and be in harmony with their planet. So that's what I did. I created this world, Skyworld, my Skyworld. And here's the celestial tree. And I consult elders, knowledge keepers, and books to do my research to base my story. And so the tree in one of the older versions, there's many versions of this story, but in one of them it says its blossoms light the world. And so this is why I made this tree with the glowing blossoms, but I also decided that this tree was actually cultivated by the people of Skyworld over thousands of years, and that they were brilliant botanists, and they figured out how to make a luminescent tree that could be basically an energy producing tree that's their source of energy on the planet. So in the story, I do a little bit of backstory, and we see Sky Woman, the pregnant woman who will later be going through the hole, as a child with her family. And this is also based on, I didn't make any of this up. Like, they're supposed to have like special powers. So I made her a telepath and and her brother's a telekinetic. And they're secluded from birth until they finally are summoned by the guardian of the celestial tree. Oh, this is cut off a little bit. His head. Here we go. To a dream guessing feast. And when she goes there, I add to, they fall in love. I mean, they do get, in the old stories, they get married, but no one ever talks about love. In fact, in some of the stories, a very popular version of the story, he's this tyrant and he actually pushes her through the hole. And I was like, that's another big change that I wanted to make to the story. I was like, I don't want, I don't want to see her as a victim, Sky Woman as a victim, and I don't want to see Sky Woman as a clumsy person, because in other stories she just like falls through this big hole. I wanted to see her as choosing to jump and to be basically the seed of the new world. Anyway, I don't have to tell you this part. So she lands on this earth covered in water, onto this turtle. And like in the story, these water animals, the beaver, otter, and muskrat, are there to help her. And they go and they get some earth for her and bring it to her. And in combination with some of the seeds she's brought from her world and the dance and ritual, she dances on the back of the turtle that begins to grow and grow and grow until it becomes, as they say, Turtle Island. And this is why I think Turtle Island must be Pangea, the original supercontinent, and not just North America. So, and it's not just me who thinks that. I've heard it from other people as well. But very popularly, you're going to hear it's just it's just North America. So, so this is where the sky world. What you're seeing in diorama is the celestial tree, and then it's surrounded by these canisters or vats. We never named them when we made them, actually, but you see inside of them the blossom rotating as though it was being formed in a lab. And I tried to also, if you saw the picture of Sky World, the atmosphere is pink, which you don't see very well, but you can see here a little bit that the sky is actually pink. And another little detail about Sky World is it's not explicit, but I wanted to make it, how do you say, post or pre or other than race, no race. And by that, and the way I did that is that I made the people these 6 different bright colors that no matter how you mix, like, and basically, so here's a mom and her 2 kids. No matter what color person she mated with to produce these children, there's no mixing of any colors that would come out pink. So that's what I want to do, is like imagine like that the offspring of these unions were not based on the color of the parents. Anyway, so it's race based on skin color is what I was trying to think about a little bit too. And so I'm telling you all this because, oh wait, one more slide. She ends with one of the first foods on planet Earth supposedly was the sunflower. And so you can watch the actual video, which is 20 minutes long, on Skewannati.com. And then I wanted to show you a prequel that I made. I was asked to make a very short video, like a 1-minute video with no dialogue. And so I imagined that, so in the world, I think I forgot to say that in the story, their planet is dying. Skyworld is actually dying. That's why she has to go through the, to the other world, to Earth, and start again. There's, but, and so it ends, that's how the story and my story ends. But then I thought, what if they figured out a way? They're so bright. Maybe they figured out a way to save the planet. And ever since then, they have been looking for Sky Woman and her descendants. And so this is what happened. Okay, when they find her. Now I've got to unshare and reshare so I can do this properly.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Just 1 minute. I hope I don't disappoint you. It's very simple, but I love it too. Okay, I think it should work. Too. And I'll do the re-share thingy. So I got a few more slides.
That was wonderful, and I love that in the credits you have the exact second life location tag marked. That was cute.
Yeah. I think it's yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you think that. So world building. One of the things that world building, as it were, and I think the way we've been talking about it, Wade, making these worlds in cyberspace. I've been doing it as I was thinking of it as play a lot of the time, kind of like Barbie play, dollhouses and that kind of thing. But slowly, very slowly, over these last 25 years, I've started to realize that what we do in cyberspace can affect the real world. And more so, that the stuff I'm making in cyberspace are starting to have expressions in the AFK, away from keyboard world. And so, one of the things that I made, I was asked to do a public art sculpture. Very happy, it's commissioned by curator Cheryl Sim from DC. Sorry, no, it's called Five Foundation here in Montreal, to do a piece on the street. And I did a street sign of the celestial tree. So this is made to be like, it's exactly the same diameter. The post is the same diameter as a stop sign here in Montreal, and the colored decals that I've put on it are the same stuff that a stop sign is made out of. And so I imagine, like, what could it be like to have the celestial tree as signage in our world? What would that mean, and how would it feel? And so it was very exciting for me to make that in real life. This is something, unfortunately, I didn't have a good screenshot of this item, which is in the movie She Falls for Ages, but it's just another example of something that was hanging. It was hanging in as decoration, and it's of course referencing our wampum belts, Iroquois wampum belts, but in a circular format, which usually they're linear, horizontal. And then I did a cosplay of Sky Woman. So yeah, with my amazing team, we made this costume, which consists of the gown, including this big collar that we were able to embroider using a special Tajima machine. One of the women on the team fixed the hair. We bought a white wig and we bought these little thingies, and she's like spray painted. I don't even know what she did. It was so amazing. We made a 3D modeled the necklace that she wears in the show. And and so it's just like, and now this piece, the dress and all that, except so without me, I bought a pink pregnant mannequin, and they are on display in Holland, the Netherlands. Yes. So yeah, it's very exciting, and I think that's one of the things that I think of now as worlding, is like actually affecting this world. So how are we doing for time? Because I added some extra slides just in case, but I can stop now too.
We're okay on time. If you want to keep going, go for it. We got about 10 more minutes.
Okay. So this project is called Skins, and I want to explain that Aboriginal Territories in Cyberspace does a bunch of things. Besides helping me make my art, we also run this program called Skins, which is a series of workshops to teach Indigenous youth how to make machinima or video games, or a range of other basically how to, but not just how to make the things, but how to how to tell our stories and use our stories in these new technologies. And so we've made, oh, there's me. This is many moons ago when I had like long dark hair, teaching the youth how to do it. I love that picture, so I keep it in there. But we've made these youth that we've met in these workshops. We've made a number of machinimas. So this is one was called the Modem from the Native Youth Program at the Museum of Anthropology in UBC. And same program, Thoquia. I'm sorry, I don't have the sizes right here. It's going to get cut off. There we go. And then more recently we made, oh, I forgot one. Anyway, How the Loon Got Its Walk. Anyway, these are just a tiny sampling of some of the machinimas and some of the projects. I want to tell you that we do that, and I want to explain to you that it's partly because of that, and of course my making machinimas, that we have an island in Second Life. We never tire of being amused by the idea that real Indians pay real money for virtual land, but we do every 6 months. And what we've done there, in addition to hosting some workshops and having my machinima sets, is we've created a place where people can hang out and come in, like, so, we want to invite the students, but really anyone, the participants of the workshops, I should say, we want to invite them to come back, to be in relationship with us and to keep learning their skills, to keep, whatever. So we're like, you can come to Second Life and we'll show you how to whatever, further customize your avatar, or how to build something or import something. But we weren't getting a lot of people coming. So what we started to do is we actually have a time once a week where AbTech staff are in world, so that they can, really, there's just a special, one specific time, so we don't have to like worry about catching someone or making appointments. And so I wanted to invite everyone here to come visit us on Wednesday afternoons, Eastern Standard Time at 1:30, if they would like to have a tour of the island, or if they would like help with their avatars. The friendly folks there will answer your questions and hang out with you if you like, or leave you alone if you prefer that. But that's also in the show diorama. That is where you are linked to. So you can go from the lobby and my canister in the lobby to the room with the tree and the more canisters, my personal room. And then from there, you can go on to AbTech Island and see that. And one last thing. Oh no, there's 2 more slides here. We've got, I just wanted to give you a real life view of my avatar and an AbTech staff member. All the AbTech staff member wear the uniform so you can recognize them, and their first name is Abby. We were talking to this scary avatar named Alma, and they were very interested in talking about the significance of digital artifacts in world. So it was a pretty high level conversation, which we're also up for, but we also can just hang out. And most recently, I'm very excited. I don't have lots of slides to show you, but we opened during COVID, and because of COVID, we opened a gallery. And so we've already had like 4 or even 5 shows, and it's really exciting. This show, A Thread That Never Breaks, was meant to be a real life show of textiles, Indigenous textile artists in Toronto. And I know the curators, and they contacted me and said, look, we don't know what to do. We really want to have this show, but we can't do it anymore. Do you have any ideas? We don't think we really want a web page. They had some idea that I did something in virtual worlds, but they weren't really sure what that even meant, And so when I showed them this, they were like, yes, we want to do this. And so we transmediated all these textile works, and they're in the show. And we have a website, which I'm sorry, I believe if you go to Indigenous Futures, it's hard to find. Sorry, but eventually I'll get that into this presentation. Tune in next time for more information. And Nyawa, that's the end of I can just talk and talk, and I didn't set my timer, so I don't know where we're at. So
Well, don't worry, because I can talk and talk too, and I have like hundreds and thousands of questions for you, based on this. But before I get to ask my questions, I want to ask a question that came from the audience.
great.
Auto Art Machine asks, how do you see the relationship between the VR worlds of the 90s and early 2000s and the contemporary resurgence? And I actually have this question too, because like Second Life really had a peak heyday, between I think it was like 2006 to 2008 was like heyday in Second Life. And since then, we discussed before, there's like or no, I forget who told me this, but there's something like 30,000 or 300,000 like static users who are like still on the platform, and like, but it really hasn't had any major like growth or drop off from that static number since like 2011 or something. So yeah, I'm very curious about, how you feel, using this
Mhm.
platform that um is quite singular in that way.
Well, so I think so. Aside from Second Life, which I'll talk about in a second, in case the questioner was asking about in general, at the time that I jumped on the bandwagon, it wasn't a very big bandwagon, but it was, yeah, people were seriously talking about, like, it was like this. The Palace was like insanely cutting edge. It was like the future. Okay. I mean, to be able to see one another, even though, I mean, now look what we're doing. This is every day. We're so used to this and so nothing. But I mean, to see a representation of ourselves, even though it was a happy face, via our computers like that, was astounding. And the thought that we could customize that area was also astounding. And at that time, I don't know the age, the asker, what I understood to be going on was that the internet was going to come and it was going to make our lives better. It was going to be an information sharing platform, which it is, but it was going to somehow not be what it is today. It was not going to be a place where we would become the consumed. In fact, I mean, I thought we were gonna bypass consumerism altogether with this internet thing, right back then. But instead, what has happened is we did not know how to, you know, leave behind capitalism and consumerism. And in fact, what's happened is now our privacy is threatened, our lives, our data is mined, and so that's what I see the difference as, the difference between late 90s and now, in the internet. And I'm honestly not sure how much longer I'm going to stay. I mean, I know. And so back to Second Life, loved Second Life as soon as I saw it, because now I have a whole body, I have boobs. Like, I mean, come on, it's great, But and that, Second Life disappointed me too. I think, I think they might have been going in the wrong. Anyway, I think they were going in one direction at first, and then I believe what happened is they found, a lot of their users were, I don't know. Let me put it this way. Here I am, being in Second Life, making this first machinima that I made, Time Traveler TN. Now, I bet a lot of you listeners know the novel Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. And Snow Crash talks about the metaverse, and a lot of people say that the creator of Second Life read Snow Crash and said, I'm going to make that, and made Second Life. And so in that book, okay, they talk about how the metaverse was good, but only got really good, only became like the platform where everyone actually did business and had relationships and lived, when facial expressions were perfected. Okay? So now, here I am in Second Life, and I'm making these machinimas, and I have to contend with 9 facial expressions only, which are like these grimaces or like very exaggerated looks, right? And they keep, every time I log in, they say, coming soon, an incredible feature, coming soon, big, wonderful thing. And I'm saying to my team, oh my God, it's going to be facial expressions. I can't wait. Finally, the day arrives. And what is the new feature? Boob jiggle. And
I'm
I
sorry,
like boobs,
but
but that I almost left that day. I was so disappointed. I was terribly disappointed. Anyway, I didn't leave. It's like a marriage. I'm married to Second Life. And until Second Life dies, I'm only going to be with Second Life. I'm not going to do another. I'm not going to. I put in so much energy into learning and molding Second Life into my desired imagery that I'm not leaving. But And either I run out of machinima ideas or Second Life stops being. That's how it's gonna go. And then I think I might, yeah. Then I'll just start making more stuff in the so-called real world, which I am loving. I put this book nearby so I could talk about AFK, as in, yeah, away from keyboard world, because it is real. Of course, we're in the real world when we're in the virtual world. It's just another part of it. It's just an extension.
I'm so glad you said that because that is like this is like oh my gosh, nobody ever says that. And I have this like that is like I one of my favorite scholars is Tom Belstorff, who is an anthropologist of Second Life. And he wrote an ethnography of Second Life, and he was studying the different communities and how it worked, and doing this really, fabulous anthropological survey also of the tech company as well. That was part of it. Like Linden Labs was, he was doing the online and the offline. It was this really holistic study, and that's kind of the first thing he says in his book is that the virtual is not reducible to the real, the virtual is reducible to the actual. And I think that's like a dynamic that we have to really consider, particularly in thinking about worlding, because what you do online is not unreal. We may create renders in something called Unreal Engine, but that it isn't unreal. It just seems unreal. What you do in a virtual world affects the person on the other side of the computer just the same as if I'm, what's happening. We're having a conversation, and it's all virtual. And I've been in thinking that description of the metaverse and Snow Crash always really resonated with me as well. That was something that I've always been looking for, and I study virtual worlds and I research virtual worlds, and that's kind of my personal interest and background. And when I first stumbled upon VR chat for the first time, it gave me that same feeling I think that you described going into Second Life. I was like, oh my God, I can embody myself as any avatar I want. You literally, like, it's so physicalized. You literally walk through portals and res up in a new world. And I was like, this is it. I was like, and because, Second Life has a voice as well, but the way that, like, and speaking of the facial expressions on, in a lot of VR things that will get your avatar will be programmed for the mouth to move when you're talking. And it just feels so rich and embodied. But I've been on VR chat. It's still this game has been in beta phase for like 5 years now. It has a somewhat stagnant user base. The same worlds are being promoted all the time, and like you can go and you can search and you can find things, because the cool thing about it is anybody working in Unity can upload their files to it. Like, it's totally Unity compatible, and that's like a really accessible thing for a lot of young artists. And so I see this really democratic potential to create whatever you want, and it's totally free. It's on the Second Life you have to purchase land, but in VR chat it's a free for all.
Well, you don't have to purchase land. You don't actually, I mean, it makes your life much easier. It's just like being a painter. You can go paint en plein air, or you can have a studio, you
Oh,
know.
right, of course. That's true. That's true. I didn't think about it that way. That's totally true. But no, I think that, I would, one day I'm going to have to like tempt you to do a little bit of tourism and come visit, and I'll take you on a little trip there someday. Maybe it'll change your mind about just staying in Second Life. But,
Maybe.
um, but no, I love the commitment, and I love how beautiful the community is in AbTech. The programming is so rich, and it's such an amazing opportunity for people all over the world to connect with each other, across time and difference and language and all different other sorts of things. um, you know I wanted to ask you, about what you're working on right now, and any kind of current particular interest. I know we just heard this amazing, rich mythology about Skyworld and about She Falls for Ages, but I'm wondering what kind of stories you still have that you want to tell and you haven't been able to yet.
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so excited about my current project. So you met my avatar, XOX. I told you about her. Well, she's showing up more and more in my machinimas, and XOX is going to meet the queen. And so one of the real thing, I can't show you a picture. I don't have a picture prepared of a real item that I made. But remember, talking about wampum belts? I think a lot of people don't know what they are, but they're something. I'm trying to find a picture or a thing right now, but I can't. Anyway, imagine long tubular beads all sort of strung together. Actually here. I'm making one. This is the beginning of one. So this is the loom. These are
Oh, nice.
these are I have a long anyway. So it would go this way. Yikes. It would be seen across, and these this little line of stuff right here is are the beads, and they'll be full. It'll be a full, imagery. And what? So I mean, I sort of started. I should have started with the story, but anyway, I'll start with the punchline. So this is the wampum belt that I'm going to be making. Now, this is my avatar, in case you couldn't tell. I hope you can. And this is the Queen, Queen Elizabeth. And what they have here is a famous wampum belt. So there's a wampum inside the wampum, which makes me very excited. It's like diorama. It's like
Exactly. Exactly.
so. This is one. This is one sketch. I made a few. I've made a number of sketches, but So the story, yeah. I'm like, God, I don't know where to begin. It'll take me 20 minutes to tell you the whole thing, so I can't tell you everything. But basically, XOX is going to visit the Queen. She's going to tell the Queen, dude, you do not get to wash your hands of the mess you made in North America. All right. And you're still one of the richest people in the world. So you're going to put some money towards fixing this problem at the very least. And she's going to make a suggestion. She's going to be nice and she's going to be polite, but she's going to be very clear. You can put money towards language revitalization, because that is there. I've been taking language classes of my mother's mother tongue, Ganyangeha, and I see the incredible work that people are doing, everyone's doing to revitalize the language, and the lack of curriculum, and how money can help people to learn. Like it is needed to create curriculum, to hire people just to learn the language, to hire people to go to school,
Mm.
and to develop protocols for translation, and to translate texts into Ganyangeha, and to translate old Ganyangeha into English. There's so much work to be done, and that takes money, and she's got some, so I think it's time. So that's what is going to happen. That's what I'm working on now, and so I have a show, and there's so much more to tell you about, but I think it'll take a lot of time. So
I
I'm
mean,
worried about taking up too much time.
no, never. No, this is so wonderful. Because, and I think that I love your use of machinima as your tool for this. And I'm wondering, what about this particular medium speaks to you, and what about this particular medium, this mode of filmmaking, connects to the ideas that you're trying to get across through machinima?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. There's two things. So I think what it is is, first of all, like, I watch, like we watch films, and when I have, like, I have I have an idea of how a film is made. It takes so many people, so much money, so many resources. When I made Time Traveler TM, the main character wears a jetpack and flies around. And I was like, I had written that story way before I met Second Life. And so, I'm wondering, like, how am I going to do this? Is going to be an animation, a 3D animation? I knew I wanted it to look kind of like a video game. Then someone shows me Second Life, and I'm like, you can fly? It was just so obvious. I felt like I could do it by myself. You can almost make a machinima by yourself. I can't. I have help. I have amazing help. People that that are precious to me, especially
Shout
Nancy.
out Nancy and Shirley.
Exactly. I got to say Nancy, because this woman has just found, like, she just knows how to troubleshoot, every like she's figured out so many. She could write a manual for people, but I won't. But she won't because I need her to work with me, not writing a manual for anybody. But it's just so great. So anyhow, that's one thing. Okay, that's one of the things. There's a DIY aspect to it. I remember I was in the palace. Remember I was in the palace. I remember I played with Barbies and still do. So when I met Second Life, I was like, it's the palace with it's Barbie and the palace together as their child. So I was just, it just was it was not like a movie, a live action movie to me, which seemed I didn't even know how to begin. It was like, oh, all I have to do is figure out how to use a camera, how to capture the screen. I mean, it was very hard. It took 7 years to make to make like the first episode. That can't be true? 2 years? Anyway, it took forever to make Time Traveler TM. 7 years for the whole thing. And
Wow.
yeah.
What
But
a journey too, like in learning this medium and figuring it out. And like, we've been talking a lot today about how we can use technology to reclaim our agency, particularly in situations where it seems like we may not have agency, where there's some sort of protocol, whether it be algorithmic or software, however, whichever way. And it feels like a really, like the liberatory potential feels really rich. And I mean, it seemed to be so for you.
yeah, and the other thing that I was going to say about Second Life and why it speaks to me is because I mentioned it earlier. It felt like the future, right? And so, I mean, actually, so did the Palace. But like, to me, using Second Life is the medium is the message. Like, I want to show Indigenous people thriving in the future, and what better medium to show us in one where we can fly and teleport and just be fabulous, as fabulous as we want to be. So yeah, it's really it was the right fit for me for a long time. Like, I don't think of myself as a machinima artist. I don't think of myself as a new media artist. I think of myself as an artist who uses the right, hopefully, the right medium for the message. And it's just I've not gotten tired of this. I feel like I still have stuff to say with this particular medium.
That's so exciting, and I'm so excited to hear all of the things you have to say through those works as they kind of come out in the next couple of years. Just to we're running a little bit out of time, but I wanted to just to connect back to some of the ideas that we've been talking about this weekend. We heard from Lajane McMillan earlier today, who shared the Black Movement Library, where she's archiving Black dance and choreography. We also heard from AM Dark, who's working on an open source Afro hair 3D library. And there's a lot of I'm wondering how you tackle the role of representation and appropriation in virtual spaces. I think that it's like so important that Indigenous people have agency in these spaces and are able to represent themselves. But I also understand, I was on Steam the other day, and this game came up that was just like, it's, it's marketed towards, kind of like white gamer guys, and you play a Native American person in it. And I just was seeing this and I was like, this is icky. And I wanted to ask you about this. Like, how do we deal with, these issues of like identity tourism or appropriation of Indigenous culture in virtual worlds? And, how do you navigate that?
Well, it's been a problem it's been a question since the very beginning, like since Cyber Powwow, right? At that time, people were like, "How are we going to know who's really Indigenous?" We're just wearing these happy faces, and I was like, "I don't know. Can we just try this? Let's just try this before we just say like we're not going to do it, because we might not know who's wearing the avatar." And what happened was we got in there and like everyone was like, "Hello." It's all typing, right? "Hello, hello. Where are you from?" "Winnipeg." "Where are you from?" "Toronto," or whatever, and like slowly they're like, "Wait a second, I know you. I know you. We already knew each other." Like, it was all these people who already knew each other, or there was like less than 6 degrees of separation. They were able to identify one another and feel very comfortable and feel like they were in an Indigenous space. Um, what I think about how I navigate the problem is I I feel again I feel I've gone through a trajectory, so I don't want to dismiss this concern because it is one. But for myself, I think that the problem does not come with digital anything. The problem exists anyway. White people pretend to be Indians, real people, real AFK, whatever you want to call them, you know? And it's a problem. And it's a really weird problem, and it's a heartbreaking problem in some point aspects. Like there's people who've done it and they thought they thought they were indigenous, it seems. Like it's messed up because it shows how little they know about indigeneity to say that they're indigenous. To say that they have one great 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 grandmother who's indigenous, so they're indigenous. It's like, whoa, because it's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's a big can of worms to be opening at the end of the talk, you know, because we lost so many people. You know, we lost so many people through like assimilation, of course, but like through legislation that called the children of Indigenous people, you know, not Indigenous. And I can go into more specifics, but I won't. But please know, audience, that I know there's more to it. I'm just trying to say it a bit simply for time purposes, you know. And so sometimes I think like, oh God, well, specifically in a piece I'm in Imagining Indians in the 25th Century, a piece I made in 2001, I thought, imagine that had been switched. Imagine all children who were, children of Indigenous people were just Indigenous, not half Indigenous or a quarter or a 16th, but just Indigenous. Imagine this place would be full of Indigenous people, and they would know who they were, and they would know why we're so proud of being Indigenous and why we continue to resist assimilation. We still continue it today, you know. So I don't worry, if that's the right word. I don't worry about red face. I feel like we need to. I in my practice do not need to take steps to make it stop happening. You know, I think in the world, institutions need to take steps and figure out. They're all figuring it. They are trying to figure it out right now. These things are happening right now. You know, they need to figure out how to not hire white people with money earmarked for Indigenous people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a period. Um, you know, just to end on a lighter note, you know, I thought that was really important to acknowledge and to think through, but, you know, before we close, but I do have one final question for you on a more positive note. What kind of cyberspace do you want to see? And how do you envision the future of what cyberspace could look and could feel like?
I love that question. I mean, you know, in my mind, it's very close to what we see in Second Life, and maybe it is your VR chat that you're talking about. What I think Second Life, or sorry, the virtual world, that the cyberspace that I want to see, what it would look like is that people could have the bodies that they want, right? Everything about that, you know, the hair, eyes, gender, skin color, clothing, you know, they could have what they could just present themselves in the way that they want to be presented. And so that I see happening. We're really close, like I said, in Second Life, but like I said, you know, unfortunately I feel that there's still some things that we're getting at, but you know, like your hands, classic avatars can only have hands that are like in 3 positions and things like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the look of it. I mean, the cyberspace I want does not mine our data, and does not infringe on our privacy. The cyberspace I want mirrors the world that I want, which is like I truly believe we can achieve this, but I just don't know when. But you know, I think we had it before on this continent. We did have a non-consumerist way of living and a sustainable way of living, and I think it can happen again. And so, to find a way that cyberspace can do that, to find a way that the world can do that, is what I'm hoping will happen in the future, sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. What a beautiful vision. And, you know, I'm totally with you on all of it. Skawannati, thank you so much for being here. This was so fun. I'm definitely going to be having a little machinima movie marathon tonight. Um, not that I've not seen them all before. I have.
Oh, wait.
Um,
You're wonderful. You're a wonderful interlocutor, if I'm saying that right, but I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And please, everyone, go to abtech.org. You can check out Aboriginal territories in cyberspace. There's beautiful instructions on the website for how to get into Second Life. You can also enter via the New Art City exhibition at www.newart.city. And I hope that you will continue. We were talking earlier with AM Dark and her kind of, she said, point blank, give money to Black people. Please give money to Indigenous people, support Indigenous communities, support projects like Skawannati's. This is how you can make a difference and provide access to all of these different technologies and stories that are clearly so rich and necessary as we reimagine what our world might look like. So thank you so much, Skawannati.
Yeah, we'll go away.